Radiant team back.
Got your mic?
Okay. This won't work.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
Reserve time. Dire team back. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Vengeful spirits.
Dire team pick.
Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. It's our third game of our set here on the coverage of the SEA TI6 regional qualifiers. MRP joining you once again, Blaze casting, of course, with me to bring you all the action and break down all the important details. TNC looking to continue their hot streak here, 3-0 thus far. Signature.Trust, for the sake of everyone in the group, trying to knock them off this pedestal. Blaze, any intel thus far on the matchup between these two squads?
Well, I do think that TNC has a lot going for them already, a lot of momentum in these qualifiers. The big win, of course, earlier today was Fnatic, and while some were thinking that might have been proven it 2 more games in a row, and Signature.Trust, on the other hand, while they've had some close calls, they haven't really been able to accomplish too much. They really need a win here, and I definitely think they're capable. I followed this team for years and years,
Right.
through many iterations of TI squads, but overall, I would say that they've been underperforming the last 2 years, maybe, even. They obviously go all the way back to 2011 to TI1, where Lakells was able to perform on the big stage there, and since then, I wouldn't say that they've been downhill, but they've been struggling to find their tempo and find their keys to the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing this iteration of the team, and more importantly, the variations they bring to the TI qualifiers, and how it matches up against TNC.
Yeah, definitely kind of thus far the benchmark in this SEA regionals is TNC, so taking a game off them would bode well for Signature.Trust's chance to at least make that playoff round. But Signature.Trust, it does seem that they've done a good amount of preparation here. Beastmaster, a hero TNC loves, Terrorblade, one that they've been leaning on pretty heavily in the opens as well as in the regionals here, and with that Vengeful Spirit Oracle kind of defensive support opening, definitely don't want to feed over the Terrorblade to them. Also, they do deny pick away that Earth Spirit from TNC. TNC, a team that tends to roam around in the early game.
Yeah, and of course you also get the Cuckoo mid Juggernaut taken out of the pool. If you look at it here, you've got 3 of the 5 heroes that TNC used earlier against Fnatic.
Right.
So that was their tricore: Terrorblade, Juggernaut, Void, all 3 off the table. And TNC are going to be going for what I would call a dual 5 position. We've seen this a lot from them. Demon as well as like AU. They're doubling down on the support role, and they're relatively item independent. So if Demon plays the Venge, and doesn't get too much in terms of early farm, but is just roaming and enabling his cores, that works for them. That's a playstyle they're very comfortable with.
We'll see what direction Signature look to go into this draft. Pretty stable one in terms of the laning stage thus far. They are going to grab it to Disruptor. Disruptor, I mean, I guess they could have gotten this later into the draft with TNC already tipping their hand in terms of the support duo, but does cover their bases in terms of their Darkseer is a bit of a soft counter to that, and also will be able to give them chase potential to cover the initiation of the Earth Spirit thereafter. Also nice, just I guess to have the Static Storm up against these defensive supports. Evidently, TNC going forward are going to rely heavily on their defensive capability with the swap and the False Promise.
Yeah, I do think that they are considering two options, Sven and Ember. I think between the two, Lakelz prefers the Sven, and they both combo really well with this kind of synergetic AoE control type lineup.
Right.
But yeah, I do think that they were intentionally picking the Disruptor third so that they could get a little bit more information before they made a decision one way or another, because obviously Ember is a hero that you have to really know where your bases are covered in order to enable him effectively. But yeah, at least for right now, we could still just see a mid pickup here. I mean, a lot of good options here for my pro. Dragonite has some good splash damage, a very significant favorite for my pro there. A Tiny was something that he ran recently as well, and fits with the burst damage that could shut somebody down before Oracle gets a chance to respond. So there's a lot of good options here. I think I would like to see a DK pick, but they go a different route. They go the Timbersaw here, and they're going to have a lot of pure damage. They're going to have a lot of burst damage, but it is here that can be nuked down by Vengeance Oracle. Between the Purifying Flames, say Oracle's level 3 and has 2 points in it, he's going to be able to get a couple of those off, combo that up with Magic Missile and some Fortune's End, any extra damage from the carry, and you're going to be looking at Dead Timber. So I do think that obviously in this mid situation, he has to be active, he has to be involved, he has to be getting his Rolling Death out multiple times on the creep wave as the hero himself. But if Venge or Oracle ever go missing, he has to start really adjusting his playstyle, because this hero is kind of fragile under the wrong circumstances. Yeah,
if you can't accrue those stacks of the reactive armor, if those are bypassed by magic damage nuke, definitely a hero with a bit of the propensity to go down in the mid lane. So it's definitely a hero that's also just been considered or held in high esteem by the entire Dota scene as of recent, especially in that mid lane role. And pretty nice against the Tide Hunter, doesn't really care at all about that Kraken Shell, which is a big tool for the Tide to have in terms of his effective tankiness. But surprising to me that the Tide actually makes it through to this second phase. Not only is it something TNC likes to run a lot, but it is just generally a strong hero that they're going to be pretty content with getting.
You got to keep in mind what they banned out, though. I honestly think that, you could say this is a great pickup for TNC. This is something they're going to be able to go the distance with. But the Terrorblade, the Juggernaut are, in my mind, the much smarter bans in this context. They know that the cores are the ones that TNC look to enable, and especially the ones that are able to go the distance with farm. TA in mid is going to be pretty interesting here, because until level 6, Timbersaw really doesn't bring that much to the table in terms of multiple instances of damage. I would actually argue that an adjustment could be made here, and a mid Darkseer could be actually the choice. Obviously, this probably wasn't their idea going into it, but now that they see the Templar Assassin and how poorly the Timbersaw should match up, because that low base armor prior to the coming into play, I actually would love to see Darkseer jump in the mid. At level 5, Darkseer's Iron Shell can do enough damage to take off the refraction instantly, and from there the Templar Assassin has a lot of trouble dealing with this. However, we go back to that issue that we were talking about before. It's not just the rotations from Vengeance Oracle you have to worry about. If Timbersaw's in the off lane itself, that threat is ever present, and you just have to start in the jungle. So there's no ideal situation here for Signature.Trust, but they have to consider multiple options, because right now they're looking at losing about 2 lanes.
Yeah, they definitely do seem to some extent to be drafted into a corner. I mean, often the Oracle having the Fortune's End is going to force Darkseer to level 1 jungle. So I definitely agree with you that at least on paper it seems a little bit more appealing to throw him up against the TA. But the Oracle being in the bottom lane is definitely going to allow the Venge to be a bit more greedy in the early game, as well as potentially roam towards the mid. So Signature.Trust definitely need to be diligent about tipping into protect my pro in that mid lane. But either way, TNC going to be looking for their Raven hero here in the safe lane, and they're actually gonna go for the AM here. So Timbersaw, Darkseer, two heroes with mostly with their itemization and just their innate stat game. Two heroes with massive intelligence pools at the end of the game. In that sense, TNC gonna look to exploit that with the Mana Void.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of value in this pick here. Could have a little bit of trouble against the Earth Spirit and the Disruptor, just really good silence and positioning control. And the pure damage obviously isn't going to be mitigated by the spell shield as well. So Anti-Mage does have some weaknesses, but let's say he goes for the tank build, starts off with a Vanguard, and gets involved in a couple early fights. They have a lot of potential to just burst down their opposition. I think despite the fact that the Anti-Mage is really strong in the later stages of like around 40 minutes, when he's got a full item set, I actually think that TNC's compared to Signature.Trust is before Timbersaw gets the Bloodstone, where they can really start pressuring. Maybe Darkseer just barely picked up a mech, but doesn't have a Blink Dagger, so he can't really superior initiation. And Timbersaw is shy of the Bloodstone and just is squishy enough for them to burst him down. I really do think that TNC can bring a lot to the table, because obviously when it comes down to the later team fights, Anti-Mage is not going to want to build a BKB. Disruptor and Earth Spirit thrive in that kind of an environment, and of course they still got one more pick to go that will be able to dish out the damage, presumably from the kills.
Yeah, and he does have that false promise behind him, so if he gets caught by a static storm, should be able to bide enough time for him to at least survive. So I definitely agree with you that it can do a lot of work, although we don't see this hero not nearly as often.
That's what I'm talking about. High tempo core for Lakel, something that he can kind of jump between farming and fighting, and really is going to be able to enable their early game here. It's going to be pushing back on the Tide. Well, now that I think about it, if the Tide goes for the 0-3-2 build that we've been seeing more in China, where you get the Kraken Shell pretty much maxed out as quickly as you can, the Troll isn't going to do as much because damage block really inhibits his damage output. But in general, I do like the fact that they're going to be taking towers early. They're going to be suppressing TNC's space and what they get to work with, and you're going to be getting earlier gold income via towers for that Darkseer and Timber, so they're going to be seeing those tanky add-ons sooner.
You heard it here first, guys. Blaze is a Troll Warlord fan.
Anything
flame him on Reddit.
I think that Troll is definitely something that is not just different, but very capable in the right hands. Yeah,
I definitely agree, especially with the recent buffs, or I guess rework to the Berserker's Rage. But either way, the one concern I would have, I guess, for Signature.Trust with the Troll Warlord is his ability to stick on targets here. He does have a surge behind him from the Darkseer, but I feel like for the most part they're going to rely pretty heavily on their Earth Spirit's control. They're a little bit disabled light, and with a Vengeful Spirit swap as well as a False Promise behind TNC, I feel like for the most part they can kite him around. So we'll see how he's able to get momentum done, or get things done, get a little momentum under his heels here.
Yeah, I kind of think that would be true for almost any pick that he would go with.
True.
The one critique I would have is that has little synergy with the Darkseer.
Right.
I was talking about Ember and Sven because I feel like obviously, but as we've seen 100 times, the vacuum synergy is insane. But you've already got synergy with kinetic static. You've already got the boulder smash from that Earth Spirit. So you've got all this potential damage and follow through from the vacuum. You don't necessarily have to have the core do that for you. In fact, drafting something that can't push, like an Ember, would actually back you into a corner where suddenly you can control the map when they're off tower, but as soon as they're actually under tower, you can't push, you can't pressure. So I do like the fact that they've added that to their arsenal, and it does mean that they're going to be able to play a more dynamic game. So I still think that their timing is around when everybody's level 7 and beyond, but we'll see if they can get some early smoke plays out with the Earth Spirit to try to change things up and take the fight to see.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the Troll in some sense adds that extra dimension, whereas not only can they push with the Battle Trance, but they can contest Roshan, where TNC have built a lineup with the Vengeful Spirit as well as the Meld Strike from the TA that definitely at some point in the game is going to be taking a gander at that pit. So it's an area where Signature.Trust, Darkseer, Disruptor, Earth Spirit are very strong, and now with the addition of the Troll Warlord can also look to take that down themselves. But here goes the most fun part. Let's get into our predictions. Wait, real quick while we have this pause. Total number of smoke gank kills by 25 minutes. This one's always kind of a toss-up here. And these two teams are definitely very dynamic and look to fight, but is it going to be by virtue of a smoke?
I would say, yeah, certainly. It obviously comes down to the essentially counter rotation. Like the way I see it, Signature.Trust will be smoking a lot around level 7 and beyond, but TNC might have that Oracle and Venge ready, and then you get a smoke kill.
Right.
It's not bad, but it might not be getting you to the next threshold for your little prediction here. I would still put 3 to 5 myself, but it definitely could be just shy of that. I don't think it's going to go 6 or more.
Tower kill before 10 minutes. In some respects, you expect the Darkseer to jump into the jungle and be jungling from minute 1 against the Oracle. So, Courier here walking up the hill is going to be killed off with that.
Unfortunate.
Quick.
That is not the way you want to start this game. Signature.Trust, come on. Orb of Venom and a Magic Stick there for jabs. And he just happened to bring it across. He gets a couple of great deep wards out, but in the process loses the Courier and loses a lot of momentum at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, that is a bit rough. That's where that base attack time from Oracle, never really relevant, but in that case, actually going to be able to rear its ugly head.
Just 2 days ago, I was having ward wars with another support, and we had sentries and obs down, nobody had tangos, and it came down to BAT. Oracle, my man, for D-warding that shit. That was really... it's so underrated, but
yeah, he's a damn good hero to have an ability draft with the BAT, depending on what you're able to get. But my pro, gonna try and secure this this rune bottom. Will be successful in doing so. Cuckoo gonna trade it, so kind of just a commonality there. Mid laners gonna both be able to grab one.
Alrighty, so we're gonna be starting things off with a nice little block here from Demon. Gonna set up Cuckoo for some success here, and we are going to be seeing him match up against the Timbersaw. That Darkseer will be just starting the jungle, as you mentioned. The Oracle just makes it almost impossible to really address. So both offlaners would struggle. The Darkseer, however, is going to be able to get more out of the jungle in general, but you of course see the wards in play.
Oh, Cuckoo, he's going to be rolled in on here mid. Does take quite a bit of damage as he's gone for, which is pretty common, the early point in Sideblade.
Chain here, actually. This is interesting. Usually in this position, you want to go for a Whirling Death reactive armor build. Usually 3-0-2, if not like a 2-1-2.
Yeah, this is definitely uncommon. Maybe he skilled it as he was walking up the hill and ran into the heroes there, thinking he needed to get away.
I mean, I will mention he does have an Iron Branch, so there's surprise factor potential if he's tree behind him get that damage, but it definitely isn't the general play.
Agreed there, a little bit unusual in the mid lane. For now, Sam H is going to try and show up in the top lane and at least drag the attention of the supports here and potentially the Earth Spirit, but look for the Ancients to be stacked up soon after. There is a sentry, however, up on the cliff here to at least look to deny a ward, but for now they already are spending some time stacking. Both the TA and the Tidehunter have the inclination to farm this at some point, so going to be a pretty big point of interest going forward in the game.
Yeah, so essentially they knew that, rolling on mid, we're going to be seeing some good damage here onto Cuckoo, the Templar Assassin, but it's not going to be much more than that as the Magic Missile comes out and they do fall back here. So yeah, that D-ward action, they knew the Earth Spirit went in deep, that's why the Courier was heading out that direction, and that's why there are some deep wards, but unfortunately they guessed wrong and they just ping out what it actually should have been. Actually going to catch with the kinetic field. Unfortunately, the rolling boulder has already been used, so this Ben should be able to get out scot-free. Still, I do like the pressure that Signature.Trust is putting out here. They know that the Tide is jungling. They know that the stacks are going to be valued both the Tide and the TA. So putting some pressure on Cuckoo, just putting some movement on this part of the map, while Lakel's just free farms the lane, is really the best thing you can do as the supports. But we're going to be seeing Darkseer. It looks like an intentional suicide. I would certainly hope so. Has the healing salve, but it looks like, he will drop down here. Iron Talon jungle from both sides.
Yeah, Iron Talon is definitely an item in Dota 2. Please remove from the game, Ice Frog, but bring the offlane back again. We're seeing so many offlanes being abandoned at minute 1 as a recent time. Jabs stalking mid lane though, and his invisibility actually will end up expiring here. Does pick up the Orb of Venom. Can look to roll in here onto Cuckoo, but the Refraction going to be pretty hard to burn through here for these two heroes, at least early on, and we already see kind of as we alluded to in the draft, the Venge freely on roam to stack, to run into the jungle, and that is simply because the Darkseer cannot stand in lane. Jabs, though, he'll try to soak some experience bottom as he'll run into AU here. The Oracle farming up a stack, and at least will look to soak. He will be pincered in here, potentially, though, by Demon.
Very bad, actually. I don't see him getting out of this.
Magic Missiles there. Fortune's End hold as well. Can they block the roll? They will be able to do so successfully. Purifying Flames finishes him off, and First Blood going to go the way of AU and TNC.
A little bit overkill there just to make sure that Thunderclap doesn't come out. There were enough heroes almost in range of that so that it could have been triggered, and from there the neutral group would have denied that first blood that is so precious. Instead, AU picks it up. There's the Arcane Boots, and a lot of potential for the supports to move now. I mean, you've got so much mana available on the Oracle. You've got your basic 102 for your initiation, and yeah, they can absolutely make a rotation on mid with the next Smoke of Deceit.
Yeah, my pro does have that 2 points in chain, in fact, now in the mid lane. And I'm not sure that he can really put this to use, but it is probably going to indicate that as soon as he picks up his level 6 that he's looking to get active across the map, where the situation is a little bit more favorable in the side lanes where he may be skirmishing. Boombell going to grab up a couple of wards as he runs into the Tidehunter and the Dire, already with a bit of deep vision around these top and mid lanes. As mentioned before, that Ancient stack going to be a big point of economic recovery for them. Cuckoo mid lane, he's going to be rolled in on. MyPro in trouble though here. The Boulder Smash will keep the TA at bay, however, and a big commitment from Signature.Trust will secure the life of their mid laner and the kill mid lane. Abba on the Darkseer is going to be the one to pick up the last hit there on the TA.
Good pressure, good involvement, get a kill on the board for Sig.Trust here, but I still really like this Tide's early movement here. Sam H has just been able to do so much in the jungle, but you'll notice that he's never really left the lane. He's been over by the secret shop, he's done the Ancient stack, but he hasn't gone far enough that the kill goes into push mode, turning on Bassi, chunking down a tower. That's maybe around level 6, he'll try it. For now, they'll put some damage into him pretty directly, and with that kinetic field, Tide is going to be dropping low, but you see that Kraken Shell at work.
Purging off the Thunderstrike, and Kinetic Field, one of the better tools to control the Tide, as it's going to ignore the Kraken Shells, but still just so effectively tanky with the damage reduction from
and you gotta go back to the last big nerf for the Troll Warlord, which is his early damage output.
Right.
His attack damage in Berserker's stance is still going to be only 94 on average with phase boots, which means every thing of Kraken Shell takes away a quarter of that.
Yeah.
It's just the Troll cannot do enough damage. He attacks fast, he doesn't attack hard, and that's going to be the big drawback of trying to go and DPS down a Tide.
6-minute rune going to be secured by Signature.Trust here, seemingly so, and they are approaching that level 6 milestone on the Timbersaw. This is where he's going to hit a big power peak here for the next little bit, especially relative to his TA across the board. Mid lane, AU perhaps stocking up this mid lane though, alongside Demon. You mentioned their inclination to potentially roam here, and Raven in the meantime going to be putting some pressure into the off lane tier 1. You mentioned kind of that Tide sticking around top lane and deterring the Signature.Trust side from doing so. TNC make no such effort just yet in the bot lane, but now Boombell will at least show his face on the level 3 Disruptor.
So I am almost positive there's going to be a kill in the mid lane in about a minute time, maybe less. That we're going to be seeing Abba moving with the smoke. He's got his 3rd point in Iron Shell. Means that Refraction is absolutely useless defensively when an Earth Spirit, Darkseer, and a Timber move in. So since we don't yet have the Oracle or VS ultimates, the TA is essentially a sitting duck. If she ever shows up on mid, they're going to pop out and they're going to bring her down. So very, very dangerous for the TA here. Just going to be going in the jungle for now, but what awaits him when he comes back to the lane?
Demon going to show himself, try and pick up a couple of levels on the Vengeful Spirit, and not the ideal target for Signature.Trust, but a target.
They know exactly what's up. Cuckoo.
Double Ion Shell there queued up as well. They're going to surge forward. The Earth Spirit Cuckoo could be in a little bit of trouble here. They'll just run in with the Orb of Venom, and Ion Shell, as you mentioned, immediately taking him out. The Fate's Edict.
Can't believe it just happened.
Cuckoo still alive here in the mid lane, but will end up going down. The trade is there immediately from the Darkseer, but a big Chakram and Whirling Death through to onto from MyPro onto AU. He is forced to chain out in the end. Goes through with the Chakram. Fate's Edict is there, but that's gonna be the pure damage, and it will end up taking down the Oracle. 2 for 1 in the mid lane, going the way of Sig.Trust. A little bit of a wild goose chase there on the TA, but they do end up grabbing the kill.
That is absolutely ridiculous, him surviving for that long. The Fate's Edict nullifying those last ticks of Iron Shell, and he just didn't react fast enough with the punch. If he just did one auto attack early in that Fate's Edict, he absolutely would have just killed him off. But instead, the heal comes out from the Oracle, and the TA rings them around the Rosie. So that is going to be an extended flash that promotes MyPro to dive very deep, but in the end, they still find their quarry in the TA.
Kel's putting a slight bit of pressure into the tower, but in the meantime, Raven does eliminate that first outer tier tower off the map for the Radiant side. Picks himself up a last hit and sitting at the highest on the board with 69 CS. So the Anti-Mage free farming kind of as we anticipated he would in this early game. Meanwhile, Cuckoo going to farm up the stack here, so all that he lost to some extent in that mid lane going to be nullified as he skyrockets back up the net worth chart at 800 above the Timbersaw at this point. So Signature.Trust failing a little bit in the sense of contesting this ancient stack, even with having the vision that it is being attempted.
And that's part of how the fact that dive went so deep. They kind of didn't have the wherewithal to really contest at that point.
Right.
The Timber was extremely low, and just kind of getting there and back again is going to take too long. The quick respawn for a low-level TA, jumping back to the Ancients. Though they know about it, they really just can't do squat. So that is going to be just kind of a side effect of their extended dive, and yeah, they're going to try to make up for it elsewhere. I mean, Abba's still farming quite actively in the jungle here, and looking for the early arcane mech build to really allow his team to start getting aggressive.
Definitely can kind of facilitate the 5-man and battle trance underneath the tower. Is certainly a thing for Signature.Trust. Certainly an avenue for them to explore here going forward. He's going to help out Jabs a little bit on the Earth Spirit as well. Can ramp up the team fight potential quite a bit when that Magnetize comes out. Speaking of ultimates, Boombell, he's had a bit of free time on this bottom lane as the Anti-Mage has retreated to the jungle, and he will be able here to pick up the Static Storm momentarily.
So they have yet to really take advantage of the Tome of Knowledge, but I presume the Earth Spirit will look it up pretty soon. And first and foremost, they're going to try to make a gank play happen. They need this silence to come out. They definitely are going to use the Static Storm if they can find the kill, but for now, Raven is cutting line of sight and makes this kill a lot more difficult to acquire. If they move out and break the smoke, they're going to be in real trouble. Oh man, if they lost that smoke, they would lose this kill, but instead, it's Raven still playing tentatively, hesitantly, hiding out. Enough time has gone missing that he absolutely knows something's up, but where, from what angle, and from the south it shall come.
The kinetic field is going to find them first. They'll drop the Thunderstrike, not going to commit the Static Storm just yet. They'll glimpse into it and guaranteed. He almost walks out though here and just blinks away. Chabs missing the Earth Spirit combo there. The roll not going to be enough, and the kinetic field, since it came out early, just not there to hold in Raven. That is a big commitment from these three heroes to no avail. They're also going to get the Purge on the Ion Shell. The Boulder Smash on top of the Surge is there. Abba could be in trouble. He has no mana left. But Raven opting not to chase forward as everyone kind of missing off the map aside from the troll for Signature.Trust.
So it's just unfortunate that this is the second significant miss for Jabs, but all the same, the kill score is still even, and the kills will be able to find that top tier 1 tower. But I'm actually quite curious about what build he's going to go. You look at this Blade of Alacrity, and there are a lot of obvious options. The S and Y or the Diffusal Blade. I actually think the Diffusal Blade is quite strong in the newest patch, but we're going to see TNC at least take some map control around the Secret Shop.
Yeah, there's potential for Roshan as well with their last glimpse back though. He's going to bring in AU. He gets the Fate's Edict off first. False Promise on cooldown from an earlier skirmish, and we'll be able to make it out rather unscathed. TNC hanging around the pit though.
That's a move from Demon here.
He's gonna swap back. Boombell still surviving, but the big meld strike is gonna be there from Cuckoo. They will be able to bring down the disruptors. One else, no, my pro, his chain on the low end there, and the trees will not do him well in that case. A very nice kill for Signature.Trust to do, and it's going to facilitate a Roshan attempt for them as well.
Yeah, blame the trees, man. That's what it comes down to at the end. Trees, damn you, in so many ways. And you playing Timber, and man, this is going to be a pretty quick roast. I mean, they don't have a lot in meld right now, only 2 points along the Blightstone. So while few more seconds and they would be bringing it down to critical HP, they realize that even though they didn't pop the Ravage, that they're going to be worse in those close quarters team fights.
Right.
Thanks to the Disruptor and the Timbersaw.
Disruptor, Timbersaw, Darkseer, Earth Spirit, all of those with the inclination to fight around the pit, and TNC respecting that, going to be content with their spoils from the earlier pickoffs. They do pick up a Blink Dagger, speaking of pickoffs, from Cuckoo here, so they can look to follow up the initiation from perhaps Demon that seemed a little bit brazen in the last skirmish there. What, Sig Pro gonna jump forward mid lane looking for AU. Once again, he'll get the Fate's Edict off. Ravage gonna connect on to 3 now. AU gets the false promise off, is healing himself up. Disruptor does drop the static storm. It'll end up killing off Sam H, and then the false promise is gonna pop the Oracle. Now the glimpse back puts Demon in a world of hurt. 3 heroes, the entire supporting cast from TNC on the sidelines. And now it will be able to bring down the mid lane tier 1. They have the battle trance up in 7 seconds as well, so there's a potential for a Roche attempt here.
I think it would be a little bit too dangerous, but they did burn the Ravage, and they're going to be going into the pit here to see what they can accomplish here. Now, obviously, they still have the Wall of Replica and the Mechanism, big tools for a subsequent team fight if TNC look to contest. They're going to go in, start bashing down this Roshan, and while it will take some time, it looks like it is going to be theirs to claim. TNC will kind of get there right at the doorstep of when it's going to fall.
So that will be able to grab an extra life here, likely for Lakel's, and MyPro gonna look to intercept Sam H here. They have no Ravage. Swap out from the Venge is not really gonna do all that much. Sam H is deep behind enemy lines. He does get the Fate's Edict off onto him for the time being, but the Troll right-clicking into him. He should end up going down. Battle Trance is there. Chakram pullback will finish him off. Now Demon in trouble. They're gonna chain forward up to the high ground. Whirling Death finishes him off. AU now going to be pursued out by Jabs, and he's extremely unlikely to make it out, to say the least. Double kill going the way of MyPro. Roshan attempt going the way of Signature.Trust, and they look to have a very good foothold in this game.
Yeah, 2 absolutely disastrous fights for TNC. 1 really smart initiation by MyPro, followed by 1 just disastrous one coming out from Sam H on the Tide. So they're just kind of going for the walk it in. I mean, they knew what was up, but they didn't realize just how difficult that fight would be, or they would have not have been anywhere near that ballpark. Anyways, from there they take another tower. That's 3 tier 1s down already. The kills is really garnering some momentum here. He's got gun stuff built up. He's got the Aegis for some life insurance, and he's gonna have a couple of core items very, very quick.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of him adding that extra dimension to the lineup with the battle chance. We see it here. As soon as they take any kind of significant win in a team fight, immediately structures are threatened thereafter. So now all tier 1s removed from the map for Signature.Trust, and maybe the one issue that they still haven't rectified is this anti-mage for Raven. TNC, he's got the Battle Fury and the Vlads up here. Very good timing at 16 minutes with the treads, and definitely has been unhindered farm for him thus far. So Signature.Trust certainly kind of taking these engagements 5v4 and coming out on top, but the anti-mage going to continue to scale through this one.
Yeah, but I still think that it's not going to be the easiest game for AM to just carry his way to victory through split push, in the sense that you still have to be very concerned about Boom Bell, the Disruptor, Glimpse, Static Storm. These tools will make it very difficult for you to really go behind enemy lines without enough vision until you have a BKB, which Anti-Mage, again, is not prone to pick up. So in this position, you definitely have to play it a little more cautiously. You'll still get aggressive, but you look at it, Raven, he expects action on the top lane, so he's just going to be kind of playing it by the trees and let Cuckoo take the front line.
Smoke wrap top lane. Scan used as well. Vision down here, and bottom lane is pushing in with no one attending to it. So Signature.Trust do have a good idea of where their enemies are. They are going to run into Demon here. He's going to be left for dead. Boulder Smash going to come through. Magic Missile drops off, but simply going to be a glancing blow as Demon goes down. Not the most ideal target for TNC to drop here, but this will perhaps open up the door for this tier 2 to be attempted. They do have vision on Raven though. And will they get in range for the glimpse here?
Tough. It's really tough kill.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I do want to talk real quick about Cuckoo's item build and decision making here in this game. He did end up going for this Blink Dagger. Oh, actually going to be unable to get bashes off because you're stuck in the trees for kills. Timber will help him save his buddy from that nightmare. But all the same, Cuckoo decided to go for this Blink Dagger after the Blightstone, where most pros would go for the Desolate. Now, Blink does have a lot of value on TA since the change where her Refraction prevents Blink from being put on cooldown. However, in this game in particular, Refraction is quite useless outside the laning phase. And now we're going to see Demon picked up on top, and that should be at least a tier 2 tower. They've got the Aegis, so I could see them actually considering high ground.
Yeah, definitely in fighting shape At this point, they still have the Static Storm available to him, to them. The Mechanism still up and kicking for the Darkseer. So Lakel's, that Battle Chance a very low cooldown, has the extra life. It looks like for now, at least they'll deal with their bot lane pushing in. Don't want to give Raven any more free gold, but he's going to be able to bring this tower down. So for now, TNC going to take another small win, but only 2 outer tier towers remaining on the map now for the Radiant side. Going to continue to kind of look to establish a semblance of map control and choke this anti-mage out from farming anymore.
But look at this ward coverage, man. I mean, we do see 1 ping coming out, so Demon will most likely deward the Observer near the Ancients, but in general, we've got 4 great active Observer wards covering up the entirety of TNC's area.
Oh, Sam Age too.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to find farm. It's gonna be hard to find safety and security for these cores to really start coming online.
Lakel's Blink Dagger in hand, looking for some aggression, is gonna find Demon. He will catch a magic missile to the face. Fortune's End on top of him there as well. And it will purge off the double damage rune he did have, so Demon gonna survive for now. Roll forward, is gonna connect just at the end of the distance from Jabs. They got the glimpse back as well into the Static Storm. Nicely played, and Jabs perhaps going to avenge his former mistake there in the bottom lane. Cuckoo now with the Sentry Ward is going to get caught out. MyPro found him. 3 consecutive pretty influential picks here from Signature.Trust, and now this tier 2 in the mid lane is definitely forfeit. Wouldn't be surprised to see them poke at high ground, although the Aegis has expired on Lakel's.
So, I mean, I gotta say that Jabs made up for every mistake he's made up this game for that play right there. A perfect maximum range rolling boulder and the stun on the blind stun on the Oracle so that he couldn't false promise to bench out. At this point, they just are absolutely able to take the tier 3 and maybe more.
Yeah, a little bit of slide chill Dota as we walk up to the high ground, but tier 3 essentially brought down in this mid lane. They are going to look to extricate themselves from the mid and deal with the anti-mage once again in the top lane, but definitely Signature.Trust pretty content with the state of the game at this point. They'll look to pick up their next round of items and kind of hit that power peak before they look to breach high ground. Aegis probably going to be, or Roshan I should say, probably going to be up in at minimum 2.5 minutes, and there is 3,400 gold on this Lakel's troll, so a little bit of wasted potential perhaps if they overcommit there in the mid lane.
Yeah, but he still has a lot of ways he can go with this one to really build himself up to be a fighting force. I mean, you can see kind of this like late game Scotty Butterfly type build,
right,
that allows you to really just be this beefcake that almost nobody can take down. I'm just going to test that right now without the items, unfortunately, and I'm not sure exactly what Jabs is looking to accomplish there.
They do catch the Raven Anti-Mage inside the Static Storm. They have the burst damage. The false promise is barely there as MyPro jumps onto him, but he's likely to pop here regardless with the right clicks coming in from the Troll Warlord. There's the damage as well from the vacuum wall. Huge combination with MyPro on top of it. Cuckoo's under the cover of Meld. AU trying to TPL, will be glimpsed back on the spot. He's going to be brought down as the Oracle. The TA still under the cover of Meld, will be able to blink out to the east and TP out, but it's a triple kill for the Timbersaw. Make it an ultra with the Whirling Death. Gonna bring Demon down. Cuckoo still yet to TP out.
That may just be a game-winning fight, or just outright, because if you look at it, MyPro just picked up his Bloodstone, and now he's up to 17 charges on this thing. So,
wow.
Definitely instant respawn if he goes down. Next item will be BOTs to take advantage of that. And yeah, you got 2 lives on your Timbersaw. This guy can now be extremely active in the next push. And not to mention the fact that they're going to be able to take down these buildings so very quickly. And the mid-tier 3 wasn't even denied.
No glyph as well for the Radiant side. So this melee Rax at the very least likely to be forfeit here from TNC's side. And their reign thus far, swap back onto Lakel's. They will be able to burst down the Troll. They end up expending the Ravage for it, however, and that is all they will get. So Signature.Trust, since the Roshan is going to be a maximum spawn, really it's just a bit of a loss of gold and experience for them, losing the Troll in that mid lane, and they take a pretty strong grasp on this game, getting the melee racks.
And now you see how desperate TNC are to really make something of it. They're going to be going here onto the mid-tier 1. Lightstone going to be their only enabler to try to take it down quickly, but they really feel they have to. And we're actually going to be seeing this aggressive play from MyPro, because again, he has 2 lives and he's ready to roll.
Almost burst down the tide, and he'll glimpse him back. He's already used the mech. Kinetic Field does not latch in time. False Promise will have to be used though, and now AU he's going to be in trouble as well. Boulder Smash catches the Tide Hunter, although he'll be healed up. He's likely left for dead here. Cuckoo going to re-engage from TNC. Shocking here. Boulder Smash will cancel it. MyPro finishes him off. Now the roll forward. Sam H, they're kind of just ignoring him as Ravage is down. Big Mana Void, but it only connects onto one. MyPro still standing strong as the Timbersaw. Boulder Smash does connect through 3 as AU is hit on the backline. Sam H tries to TP out, but it's a little too late. Boulder Smash in 1 second. AU will be able to make it out of the mid lane. Anti-Mage forced to blink away, and all of that occurred without the Troll Warlord even being present.
Exactly. The fact that they're able to do that much damage and that consistently without the Troll in play whatsoever, without a wall of replica, just shows how far ahead Signature.Trust are up right now. MyPro is really showing what kind of an all-star he could be on this just overfarmed Timbersaw. I mean, you look at hero levels and he might not be the top of the charts, but by comparison to those he's slaying, the level 10 Vent, the level 11 Oracle, like this guy is just too strong, putting out too much damage, and they just don't have an answer. This is really great play from MyPro, who's now playing with a near infinite mana pool, and it's just going to get harder from here. TNC, they're so far behind. I mean, yeah, Anti-Mage hits 3 AM. He's got his Manta up. But otherwise, what do you have to show for yourself here? You've got a Desolator and a Blink Dagger on the TA. Something that you could have had 10 minutes ago if you just played a farm game.
Yeah, definitely so. 11-1-5 right now, MyPro on that Timbersaw, and TNC. We may have a case where the entire group is tweeting love stories at Signature.Trust here. They're staring down the barrel of their first loss in this group stage thus far. Top lane, Demon stalking alongside his Anti-Mage. MyPro, a good target for them to be able to go in on, but with the Bloodstone, so much mana regen that it's like you're not really going to find the opportunity without a lot of Disable on this Timber to get off a significant Mana Void. So Signature.Trust definitely content with the state of the game at this point.
So that means that they're going to be just waiting up next to Roshan. They see it thanks to the Helm of the Dominator assistance, and they can go in right here, right now. Nothing really stopping them. Even a Ravage, a 5-man Ravage, wouldn't seal the fate of Signature.Trust, and that's a scary thing to say. Fact is, they have just a lot of tankiness on their most important heroes. Guardian Greaves on the Darkseer, the Scotty Dominator on the Troll. We want to talk about an armor buff. With Scotty Dominator Yasha Aquila, this guy has 30 armor. He's mitigating 64% physical damage. It's just absurd how much of a beating he can take at only 25 minutes in.
MyPro gonna jump forward a long way to find AU, and if nothing else, they've baited the false promise out. They're gonna look for more here. Oracle is essentially guaranteed, and he will bend up popping. Cuckoo is melded up in the trees. Doesn't seem like they're privy to that fact, though. The sentry is just barely out of range of this TA, so they must think he blinked out, but either way, it's more than enough of an opening for them to jump into this pit here.
MyPro here. He's going to tank through so much damage. He is not going to get that Timber Chain off, however, so he will need some assistance from Jabs, but with a stun and a silence, he's actually looking to turn it back around.
Yeah, a lot of mana regen available to him as well. A couple of bottle charges being consumed here, but simply just going to create space for Lakels. Halfway down is this Roshan at the moment. Ravage is still available, but Jabs forced back to base. It actually does seem like Signature.Trust will back off there. They are aware of how far ahead they are and a little bit weary of beating any of that advantage over to this TNC side. They'll hang around the pit, though, not going to give away an opportunity for TNC to do the same.
And as you mentioned, this is a really big deal for the Signature.Trust to potentially take this win over TNC, because otherwise TNC would be almost halfway to a clear-cut top of the group stage, which would bring them to TI. And instead, we are going to be seeing a very short respawn on the Timbersaw. And I hope that TNC don't underestimate this. You got to ping that the Timbersaw respawns and consider it, because he's already back with the BOTs.
Yeah, jump forward. Boulder Smash connects onto 2 from Jabs. It'll delay out this Roshan attempt. Raven will be forced to blink out because of it. Roll into the pit. Cuckoo is on the high ground. No vision of him just yet for Sig.Trust, but yeah, it's a Timbersaw kill with a hell of a lot of charges under his belt. He will be able to return to the fray. And
PAT being home, this fight is over. This Rosh is theirs. I don't really know what else you can expect to do with your TNC. The TA is essential for any semblance of a good fight, and it's just going to be gone before they know it. I mean, why are they even hanging around? These is just free kills for the Disruptor.
Jump forward. Kinetic field is going to be there. Glimpse onto the Oracle. AU going to die for the second time in about 2 minutes. Demon, maybe the sacrificial lamb for his unit, as he does end up getting the Oracle out using the swap. But the Boulder Smash, does he really even get him out? Is going to connect onto AU. Chakram's going to be there as well. TNC hanging around the pit. A little bit of miscommunication from their side. The TA not even there. They're going to get the Aegis. They're going to get 2 kills. 30 seconds of a window here where the supporting cast is on the sidelines for TNC. The lane's not really in a great position, so they should be alive for this base fight. But recall, 14 Bloodstone charges on the Timber. He's got Boots of Travel. He essentially has 2 lives for this fight. Aegis essentially 2 lives directly for Lakel's here. So this is going to be a very difficult defense to mount for the Radiant side.
Yeah, I'm not sure it matters at this point with the short respawn timer on the supports, but it was a huge communication breakdown because the TA had gone back to the fountain to buy a Dragonlance, and there's at that point I figured everybody would be heading for the hills, but no, they stuck around. They end up defeating 2 more, and then they're back up. But it might just be the last fight for Signature.Trust here in this best of 1.
Manta Style going to be flown out to Lakel's as well. Can try to dodge that Meld Strike, get the Wave of Terror off, help to slow Siege a little bit with the Scotty. There will be a fairly tanky Illusions, but either way, Lakel's getting ready to do it as units encroach upon the base here. MyPro going to be swapped in. A very tanky target, but they bring him down immediately. 24 seconds. He's going to be on the sidelines. Ravage is going to connect onto the back line, but Lakel's, he's already dealt with Demon as well as AU on the support. Raven, he's going to be glimpsed back into the Static Storm. It does end up expiring. He gets a Mana Void off onto the Disruptor. He'll kill off Jabs as well, but Lakel's, he's still fighting strong here as Sam H. He's deep behind enemy lines. He will end up dropping. Lakel still has an Aegis, has a blink in a second if he wants to expend it. He's going to be surged up and will blink forward. Sam H proving to be very tanky, but as is Lakel's. Now MyPro will rejoin the fray with that relatively short respawn. Battle Trance going to be popped up. Glyph, cover it, but 50 seconds on the side lines for no Tide Hunter, 10 seconds for no supports. Raven going to jump in, going to take a huge amount of damage from MyPro. He's going to be forced to buy back. They get to tier 3 in the meantime. Cuckoo sitting on the cover of Meld. Greaves will keep them safe for the time being. Lakel's going to jump forward, forces out the False Promise. Now they maybe look to turn on to Raven. They will get Lakel's, but it's only going to end up being the Aegis. Thus far, MyPro still standing strong. Finishes off Sam H essentially. Will Timber chain forward enough to bring him down. Purifying Flames keeping him healthy, but now Demon, he's forced back. AU in trouble as well. Lakel's, he's going to be actually bashed up here by the Anti-Mage and maybe brought down a little bit deep here. They don't get the racks just yet. This is a bit of a concern for Sig.Trust. Raven looking to find a little bit more. MyPro will be able to make it out of that fight, but a little bit of bloodlust there on the back end from Signature.Trust. They will not get that all-important lane of racks in the bottom lane.
Yeah, they definitely were going hard. In the meantime, though, they do have the mid lane and the 2-3 down on bottom, so they still have a very significant advantage. But I do want to talk about one mechanic that actually really dramatically affects that engagement. You notice how long that Tidehunter survived against the Warlord? I talked in the laning stage about how good Kraken Shell is against fast attackers, but I haven't really hit on the fact that Lakel's is building right into TNC's hands in one way. While he is super tanky and extremely difficult to bring down twice, he doesn't actually hit that hard because of 2 things: the negative Vengeance Aura as well as the Anchor Smash. Both these modify directly base damage, and with Troll building Scotty as well as the Manta, he's actually running a lot of agility rather than attack damage, where sometimes you'd see like a Daedalus or an MKB at this point, you see the Scotty and the Manta. And the drawback of that, while you are extremely tanky, is that Anchor Smash and Vengeance Aura directly negate a huge portion of their bonuses, to the point that Troll was only hitting for just above 80 damage per hit when he was affected by both those debuffs. So he has to play around that. He has to start building more attack damage, and he just has to really make sure that either he's not affected by the Vengeance Aura or he's not Anchor Smash. Otherwise, it is going to take a long time for him to bring his opposition down.
He is going to opt for the Butterfly here, so not directly supplementing that damage as you were mentioning, and still kind of going for this Paradigm-ish build where he's going to be tanky and have a little bit of offensive potential as well. We'll see if that kind of rears its ugly head going forward. MyPro did die a couple of times there bottom lane, and he will look to rectify those issues with this BKB pickup here. There's really no way for them to control him in the fights once he grabs this up, and it's also going to mitigate the mana break. So he is a big power peak for Signature.Trust when he has that 10 seconds of spell immunity.
But check out this new disruptor item here. Boom Bell picking up the Aghanim Scepter at such an early stage without a Midas or anything to supplement it. He's just in such a great spot. AU doesn't even get to use the ultimate.
The
He's
bash.
do a nice little bash. The second critical one so far, and he's only had the item for a few. Well, he's got that passive to all game, but all the same, the Aghanim Scepter actually can be a huge deal here because the TA just picked up a BKB, so did the Anti-Mage. If he actually is able to initiate with on the Static Storm on either of those heroes, it could just be the game ender right there, especially with the buyback still on cooldown for the Anti-Mage.
Manta used as well by this AM. It will be down for the next 15 seconds or so. We'll see what Sig.Trust opt to do. It looks like they will target this bottom lane. And actually going to run through the bottom lane despite creeps pushing up in the mid. So we'll give time for the Oracle to respawn, but they'll convene towards the bottom lane and look perhaps to breach high ground here. 34 minutes into the game with a fairly sizable advantage, but always the threat of that late game anti-mage looming. Raven's going to pick up a BKB of his own. There still is, of course, the bash to control him from the troll, but for the most part, Earth Spirit not going to be a concern. However, you know, as you alluded to a moment ago, that Aghanim's Disruptor ult may catch him off guard here, and if he's unable to use that BKB, definitely burstable.
And also, the Earth Spirit just picked up an Aghanim Scepter himself, too. With a Blink Dagger and an Ags here on jabs, these super farm supports are going to be making a huge impact in fights. I mean, obviously, we haven't seen it as much recently, but the Enchanted Remnant from the Earth Spirit is a huge powerhouse of ability that allows you to just completely redefine how a fight's position. And of course, you also get the added benefit of being able to geo-grip your allies to safety. Well, I don't think that's going to be necessary. In most cases here, maybe the Disruptor gets blinked on and the TA wrecks them quickly enough. It's unlikely, but it is possible.
Can't help the slow siege, perhaps. It's a bit of a long cooldown to use just a slow siege, but definitely some nice luxury items to have for Signature.Trust side. Looks like they will back off into farm and perhaps just wait out this next Roshan. They do already have a Centaur in the pit, about 50 seconds until the minimum spawn, but TNC are looking to take the fight to them, perhaps to try and catch a Signature.Trust off guard. They are backing in due time, it seems, though. They have this BKB up onto Timber. He's going to be forced to pop it, but he still gets bursted with the bash.
Bash. Are you kidding me, Anti-Mage? That is ridiculously lucky. I think even if he gets a second hit bash, though, Timbersaw still dies. But yeah, getting it the first one just makes it a guaranteed kill and not even a contest. That is a BKB charge. That is a kill on the second most farmed member of Signature.Trust. And most importantly, some Bloodstone charges taken down, because it's not just a quick respawn, it's a massive heal in the middle of a team fight whenever that Timbersaw goes down.
Yeah, it's a definite
A gift from the tempest of battle. No!
For heresies unknown, the temple decreed your death.
Fifth pick, so we really didn't see that coming outright, but once we saw the draft, we kind of got an idea of Signature.Trust kind of to fight and to push, just to have a real objective focus. And we've seen that play out.
Oh, the Cows are going to run into him. They get the Ravage off as well, but the Geo Grip keeps him safe for now from the Earth Spirit. My Pro through the middle of the fight with the BKB is going to bring Samage pretty low. The Anti-Mage, he's forced to jump out. Timbersaw still jumping forward. He is going to be Meldstruck up, though. We've seen this story before. He got bursted quickly, but he gets the Ghost Scepter off. Now Raven's in trouble. The False Promise will keep him safe. Cuckoo won't be so lucky, though. This TA is going to be left for dead. Tied TA Venge on the sidelines. AU in trouble. Boulder Smash stops the TP. Now the roll forward over to the west side. It's a triple kill for Kells. Trying to find the Anti-Mage was the Earth Spirit, but unable to do so. Either way, it's 4 heroes on the sidelines. Unfortunately, the Roche is not going to be up yet, and the respawn timer is broken. But there you will have the little element showing about 1 minute and 25. So the long respawn here, slightly favoring TNC, but Lakel's directly up towards the mid lane. Look for the racks.
Yeah, the wreck profession is down thanks to a few creeps happen to be in the mid lane. That's going to be a range already gone. Double buyback, and what can they do? Like, they don't have Ravage. Oracle buying back for nothing. Like, they buy back, they try to respond. They're desperate to defend their barracks, and they're going to have to commit everything they have here if they have even a chance to defend.
Lakel's up in the front lines, will get the melee rack seemingly uncontested here. Now Raven gonna jump forward. Oh, the vacuum into the Disruptor ulti. It's Aghanim Scepter 1 as well, so Raven cannot BKB through this. He's taking tons of damage. He'll get swapped out, but probably will pop here to the False Promise, and indeed he will. AU now in trouble as well on the Oracle. They will be able to get him. My Pro is going to be mana voided up. It does a lot of damage to Rook, but the bash is there on to Raven. He's going to be forced to blink into the base. Lakel's My Pro, they still survive. Meld Strike going to get the Timber Chain off, and My Pro should be able to make it away with the 9 stacks on the reactive armor. Now they're going to glimpse back Cuckoo. This is going to be a dieback on the TA.
That's going to be
Or
just really well executed between the Disruptor and the Darkseer there. Double vacuum into it, and yeah, sure, you get the False Promise. They essentially shallow grave the Anti-Mage for about 9 seconds, but it is going to be him going down inevitably, and that is going to be Signature.Trust to take all 3 lanes of racks here. They really were able to just do so much in this mid-game stage thanks to all the momentum that the early game generated. And I really have to chalk it up to a couple of bad fights from TNC. First, it was Big Timber Saw jumping on mid and just setting up, I think, a triple thanks to the follow-through the Disruptor brings. And then the next, only a few minutes later, it was the Tide trying to get into the Roche Pit, and the entire team kind of being sacrificed for it. It really started just building so much momentum for Signature.Trust that they became an unstoppable force very quickly, and TNC take their first loss here in the TI6 SEA qualifier.
yeah, TNC going to be humbled a bit here with their first loss, and a lot of teams going to be happy about that. You talked highly of Signature.Trust. Myself and Gods definitely looked at them for a bit of a dark horse